What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the Pika Pika Papa, and today we're going to be talking about Destined Rivals, but I'm not going to be telling you anything that you don't already know. I'm hoping to provide some more facts and figures and data points than you've seen or you're aware of to help validate all the thoughts and feelings that you already have. But listen, I'm going to tell you how great Destined Rivals is. I'm going to tell you why I'm a big believer in it, why I'm going to be spending a lot of money on it here in the months ahead. So again, nothing you don't already know. But what I am going to say, and this might be surprising to some people, is why I think the booster box, even at its current price right now, even knowing that, listen, in the future, there's going to be tons of restocks of Destined Rivals, right? Like there is going to be product that flows into the market. It just freaking came out. There's going to be lots of opportunity to buy Destined Rivals. But why the booster box price where it's sitting at right now might not be as outrageous as a lot of us think. I mean, remember, those booster boxes, when they hit the market at MSRP, they're going to be gone like that. They will not sit on shelves. They are going to be just soaked up left and right. And I guarantee you, your local card shop probably won't even have them listed at MSRP to begin with. So there is a lot to discuss in this video. Now, as I sit here and I pontificate on Destined Rivals, you might be wondering why I have all of the top 10 cards from Fusion Strike on the screen. Well, the reason for that is because, did you know, outside of Evolving Skies, Fusion Strike is the only set with 3 or more cards that are over the $100 mark as we sit today? Think about that. In all of Sword and Shield, this incredible generation where booster boxes are going for like $400 a pop right now, even with all of the hype that's been around it, there's only one set outside of Evolving Skies, Fusion Strike, which has 3 or more cards over the $100 mark. Now, Evolving Skies, the only thing I would compare to Evolving Skies and Scarlet and Violet is Prismatic Evolutions. The pull rate of that Umbreon card is awful, and the pull rate of the Umbreon in Evolving Skies is bad. The lineup is somewhat similar, so we're not even comparing that. So I think that the Fusion Strike Destined Rivals comparison is as close as we're going to get, and we're going to go through a journey. We're going to talk about how the booster box price in Fusion Strike moved over time, and then we're going to look at where the current booster box price is for Destined Rivals, and I really think it's going to say a compelling story about where the price is now and why it might be a fair price. So with that being said, listen, chase cards, top cards, those are the things that help drive demand and really help drive booster box prices. So again, you got the Mew VMAX right here from Fusion Strike at $131. You got the Espeon VMAX right there at $304. And then you got one of my all-time favorite cards, that Gengar VMAX from Fusion Strike, coming in at $575. So now we got to look at Destined Rivals, and these prices are going to fluctuate wildly over the next 6 to 8 months. Like, we might end up with only 2 cards over the $100 mark in the short run, but what I'm talking about is in the long run. So obviously the Team Rocket's Mewtwo, I feel very confident, will stay and remain highly above that $100 mark. Cynthia's Garchomp as well. I think that card is going to perform really well over the long run, but I also think Ethan's Ho-Oh and that Team Rocket's Moltres card, I think those two are going to really battle it out for the number 3 spot. I love that Moltres card. I'll just come right out and say it. Like, to me, that's the number 3 card in the set, but we're going to have to see what happens in the long run. But when I think about all of the other sets in the Scarlet and Violet era that have booster boxes, this is the one. This is the one that I'm going to hang my hat on and say, when we look back at this 2 years from now, this could be the only set which has multiple cards, 3 or more over that $100 mark. So that's why I'm going to be talking about it right now. Now, I got to say this before we get into the deep data dive on Fusion Strike booster box prices and why I think it's relevant and why I think that gives us some insight into current Destined Rivals booster boxes. If you have fun in this video, if you enjoy the content, if you like this type of approach, hit a thumbs up or hit that subscribe button. Those 2 small things go a long way in helping my small channel out, and I really appreciate it. And with that out of the way, check this out. These are all of the pull rates for the Scarlet and Violet booster boxes. Now, when we are talking about what will affect single card prices in the long run, right? Pull rates matter. And when you look at all of the pull rates here, you see that Destined Rivals, again, just from a regular set perspective, has the worst pull rates versus all of the peers. Now, I will say this, Prismatic Evolutions has a worse pull rate, which is why when I try and compare something to Evolving Skies, that's the comparison that I use. The chase card pull rate in Prismatic Evolutions is 1 in every 1,440 packs, which is obviously far worse than Destined Rivals. However, Evolving Skies was 1 in every just shy of 2,000 packs. So as bad as the pull rates are in Prismatic Evolutions, it still don't even shake a candle to the pull rates in Evolving Skies. So when I'm looking at this though, this is why I think that those chase cards have such a great opportunity to be up over that $100 mark. There's just not going to be a lot of them out there because the pull rate is going to be low. The gem rate we're unsure of yet at the time of shooting this. There just haven't been enough submissions at PSA in order for us to come up with a normalized pull rate. But what I wanted to call out is look at Surging Sparks and look at Journey together. So obviously the two sets that were released prior to Destined Rivals, both of those pull rates were firmly below the 40% mark. So I don't necessarily anticipate Destined Rivals making a big jump in terms of gem rate. So when I think about that right now, I think about how awesome, let's say, those top 4 cards are. I think about it has the lowest pull rate out of all of the other regular series sets in the Scarlet and Violet era. I'm anticipating a relatively low gem rate, which is going to drive the PSA 10 prices of those chase cards up. Like, this is a perfect storm for the booster boxes and the cards just to have really, really strong price appreciation far into the future. Now, the other thing is, I told you we were going to do a comparison to Fusion Strike, and this is what I am talking about. So this is a whole lot of numbers on the screen, and I'm going to walk you through it. But on October 30th of 2021, the Pokemon Company International blessed us with Fusion Strike, and it came out at a price point of $125 per booster box. Now remember, MSRP back then was basically $145. So at release, this came out about $20 below MSRP, and then it promptly dropped all the way. If you weren't collecting back then, I'm sorry, but I have to say this out loud. I'm telling you right now, it dropped all the way to $80. That is a real number. In April of 2022, Fusion Strike booster boxes were going for $80 a pop. Obviously, a totally different collecting environment than it is today. And if you weren't around back then, you might think that number's made up, but I promise you it is not. And then from $80, it really held flat and started to just very slowly creep its way up. We didn't see what we've seen here recently, where we see these big spikes and then the plateaus and then big spikes and plateaus, right? Like, it was a very slow and steady growth. The supply and demand was totally in sync. There was actually more supply than there was demand, which is why you see the depressed pricing all the way around. There was no issue getting Pokemon cards. But then in January of 2024, 2 years and 2 months later, Fusion Strike booster boxes were up over MSRP again. They were at the $150 mark. And then in April of 2024 is when absolute Armageddon happened in terms of pricing, because everything on the Pokemon Center in terms of Sword and Shield product started to sell out. Literally everything. I mean, at that point, a couple months prior to that, you had Battle Styles, you had Vivid Voltage, you had, what else? You had Astral Radiance, you had Brilliant Stars, you had Silver Tempest. Like, all of these sets were available at MSRP at the Pokemon Center, even though they were so long after, you know, the sunset of Sword and Shield. But then when they all disappeared, prices got crazy. So you had this new environment where you could not buy them at MSRP anymore, and the booster box price on Fusion Strike shot up to $228. And that's the number that I want us to focus on right now, because that number is about 58.5% over what MSRP was at that time. And then the other call out is, after it hit that 58.5% growth over MSRP, the price flatlined. It did. It held steady for about 8 months before we went through another cataclysmic event, right, where we see another spike, and then it flattened out again, and then it spiked again. So at least what happened was, when it went through its initial price surge, when it started to settle, it held at that line for a while. And I have no idea what is going to happen with Scarlet and Violet booster boxes, but I do know for sure that I think these mega Pokemon sets that are going to be coming out in this miniseries, I think they're going to be really, really popular. And I don't know if a lot of attention is going to come out of Scarlet and Violet and into them, but in reality, I don't think it matters. There's so many people who are collecting now versus before. No matter when the sets come out, and no matter how much of the supply is dropped, I just think they're going to get soaked up left and right. So for me, the important thing is to take a look at booster box prices right now for the sets that I really believe in. And I could not possibly believe in a set more than I believe in Destined Rivals. Again, not to beat the dead horse, the card lineup is amazing. The pull rate is terrible. I anticipate the gem rates to be really, really bad as well. So this set is just going to age like fine wine as far as I'm concerned. So when you look at it, when I did my pre-video that I always do, usually about a month before a set comes out, I kind of give you my interpretation of it. You know, booster boxes were going for a ton of money. They were at like $300 when I did that video. And I said, I am going to have a lot of Destined Rivals. I'm going to have multiple cases of booster boxes. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit on the sidelines and I'm just going to watch, because I think the price is going to come significantly down off of these pre-sale prices. And I think it's going to settle somewhere. I didn't know where. And honestly, I still don't know where. But if you look at that blue line right now, it's starting to flatten out. It looks like it's starting to find a lot of support right in the high 240s range, 248, 249. Now I'm shooting this video in advance because I'm going to be traveling for work, so the price could have gone up or down a little bit between then and now. But the reality is, it does look like it's starting to flatten out a little bit. Now that number is important for me, because if you saw on the previous slide, when Fusion Strike became unavailable at MSRP, it shot up to 58.5% over MSRP. Right now, now Destined Rivals isn't available at MSRP. It's a fantastic set, and it's about 51.5% over MSRP. So does that mean that the price is right? Who knows? But I do know this. I think that no matter what happens, no matter how much product is put into the market, I think it's just going to get absolutely obliterated instantaneously. People are going to be fighting in the Pokemon Center queues because I think that's the only place you'll find it at MSRP. So I think that the market at least is going to support, or at least start to flatten out, like we saw at the end of Fusion Strike, right? After it popped off, then it flattened out for an 8-month period before it went through its next big acceleration. So I do think this is going to settle just a little bit. Where? I don't know. When? I don't know. It could go up. It could go down. But I think we're going to find some source of normalcy. We've been watching the singles cards prices come down for a while, but I do think that this is actually a relatively fair price. And as crazy as that is to say, with $165 MSRP, I'm saying paying $200 and almost $50 for a booster box might be a fair price, but it's just the world that we live in right now. Supply and demand is out of whack. This set is absolutely awesome. So I thought this was a really cool comparison, and I wanted to bring it in front of you. And I told you I'm going to have multiple cases of this. I'm going to start picking some up. I really am. I'm going to buy it at $250. If it continues to come down, then I'll do exactly what I did with Paldea Evolved in the past. I will just continue to add individual booster boxes at every, kind of different time point along the way. But if I get 3 or 4 months in and it's continuing to go up, then I'm just going to have to pull the trigger and go big. So we'll have to see what happens, but I thought this was a really cool comparison. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it gives you some idea of at least what has happened in the past, which semi-correlates to what's going on right now in terms of product being in stock at MSRP and how the price moved afterwards. I just thought it was a really neat comparison. So if you had fun, if you enjoyed the content, it's a little bit of a different view, hit that subscribe button or give us a thumbs up. Those 2 small things go a long way and help my channel out. And I really appreciate it. But most of all, I hope you have an epic rest of your day. I will talk to you soon, everybody. See ya. Bye.